Have they had that press release coming out on the 5th? No, on the 12th?
With the 5 underneath?
With the 5 underneath?
Yeah.
That's badass, man. Like, you know, I design, and I've got a degree in designing, and I'm thinking, I wish I came up with that idea. I was very jealous. It's like watching the Canadian Destroyer and going, damn, I wish I thought of that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Safe House, Episode 3, Volume 4. And I say Volume 4 because ER talks so much that there was 2 parts to his Safe House. The first Safe House brought you a promoter/wrestler. The second Safe House brought you an announcer. And the third Safe House is going to bring you a wrestler. Ladies and gentlemen, to my immediate right, your left, I think, would that be mirrored right?
That would be, I don't know how, the cameras are...
To my immediate right, to your...
Immediate.
Aden Chambers, professional wrestler, Aden Chambers. I am your host, Kirby Mack, the best professional wrestler you've never heard of, professional wrestler extraordinaire. I think I butchered my intro there. I normally have the same saying. Go back and watch the next episode, and you'll get a hang of it. Before we jump into like the whole, and I don't. Again, I like to convey. I don't know if you've watched any of these episodes, but I don't like to really get into. How'd you get started? And because at the end of the day...
What happened was...
At the end of the day, we all got started the same. We were wrestling fans, and somehow we fell into the business. It's more so we're going to get into thoughts and opinions and all that good stuff. But what I want to break out first to you is probably something that you've never have been told by me, something that you just don't know. Whereas you confided in me once on a road trip, and you told me one of your scariest thoughts, so to speak, that you would ever have. I believe this has to do with being in a rest area. Now, I'm not going to tell it because I don't want people to do this to you, but you confided in me and told me this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to confide in you. To me, Aden Chambers, like a lot of people say, like the last episode of the Safe House was 2 drunk guys putting each other over, and it was because it was ER. He's like they're like one of my best buddies. But like this episode of the Safe House is going to be at least one guy putting this guy over because, like Aden Chambers is someone that I really respect, and I really value his friendship and knowing him as a person. But the funny thing about you, Aden, is you moved to North Carolina, South Carolina a couple of years ago.
Yep. Like indeed.
4 or 5 years ago, maybe?
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Wow, okay, I'm way off. I had not done my research. You moved from Maryland or Delaware, right?
Maryland,
okay. So, Aden Chambers moves down, and I think you first started getting in with like Anarchy?
I got in with Anarchy and Donnie Steamboat in North Carolina, and that's all I really did. No, that's a lie. I jumped into NWA Charlotte. The last show, I got shut down by the fire.
Yeah, we've talked about that on this
episode. That was my first one. That's where I met everybody and their brother that's done anything that I know of, for the most part.
So when you came down, I first started hearing about you, I think, from NWA Anarchy / Wildside, and then you started working some with Tyshawn and Joey Sylvia.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but from the minute I started hearing Aden Chambers, I thought to myself, it's this punk guy from up north, like you know how some of the guys up north come with a stigma. And I'm thinking, it's a punk guy from up north coming down on my territory, because at this time I was a different person and I had a bit of an ego on me. Now I don't, I'm a very humble guy. and I'm thinking, who is this punk guy? So like really when you first came out here, I did not like you. And you probably don't know that, but I was like, and I'm sure it was all just a jealousy thing, but I was like, screw this guy, who is this guy?
You know what's funny?
And
the best part about this is, and Dustin Tarr can validate it, the first time I met you was at Matt Hardy's Christmas party in 2007.
And I think that was another thing, because like, you would get in with Chemo and Phil Shatter, and then you were coming into, Matt Hardy's Christmas party and stuff, and I was thinking like, who's this guy coming in on my territory?
I came in, And like everybody was talking, it was total. And I admitted to Dustin, it was just total jealousy. I was just like, I hate the Max. I can't stand him. Like, and I had never spoken word one to you, and this was so long ago. But I remember, my memory is totally blurry on it. TJ was just obliterated.
Yeah.
And
sounds like TJ.
And you were following around, and you were like smacking him up and down. You're like, "Hey, come on, get up, just do this." And then you would walk around to other people and be like, "Hey, just come on, shut the fuck up, let's get going," and things like that. And I was like, I didn't know anybody that was there, so I just figured, everything he does is terrible. I don't approve. I think he's an asshole.
Yeah, because out of everybody at Matt Hardy's party, I'm the worst one, right?
I didn't know anybody.
I know.
And Dustin was like, "Come on, I was like, "No, screw it." Arms crossed. No, I will not be these people's friend. It was like so turned off.
I remember like I disliked you, and I remember I was like, I don't even know why I disliked it. I think, and again, I think it was a jealousy thing. I think it was like, damn, this guy, he's a good wrestler, and he got into the Southern clique really easy because with some of the guys down south, it's really hard to get over with.
Yeah.
With like Chemo and Phil Shatter, old Phil Shatter, not new Phil Shatter, not Gunner. But like back then, it was really hard to get in with some cliques that were real cliquey, and I was like, who is this guy? And it was totally just a jealousy. And I remember at that Christmas party, I'm like, I'm going to extend an olive branch to you. So I was like, let's take a photo. And I took a photo, but still in like a douchebaggy way. I was like, all right, I'm going to tweet it and say that I'm at Matt Hardy's Christmas party with AJ Styles. And
you're thinking the wrong way. You're thinking
but this was like, then I remember you kayfabed me, and I was like, hey, what's your Twitter name? I want to tag you. And you gave me the wrong Twitter name, so you just totally killed my gimmick. but what were you talking about?
I was talking about the year before that.
Was it in the house or in the dome?
It was in the house.
Okay.
It was not in the dome. In the dome, I knew who you were, and I was like, I gotta be his friend because I like him.
Sure.
Because we had wrestled one match with me and Caleb against you, and it might have been TJ. I think it was TJ. And then I know you did commentary on one, and it was like you got after me, but I was just like, son of a bitch, he's so right. It's hilarious, and I didn't want to like you for it, but I did.
I've been told, and
no, you sat in front of the ring. I remember now. You sat right in front of the ring and shot and like a commentary to the entire crowd, and you belittled me, and I was so angry because I was entertained by it. And I was like, you make me look like shit, but I love it.
I've been told by Michael Bakikio, it hurts, but in the same sense, I'm like, I like that. But Michael Bakikio told me that I was a better commentator than I was a wrestler because I'm so energetic and I know what to say and what to put over that. My color commentary is very good. But in the same regards, Michael Bakikio, you are a much better commentator than you ever are a wrestler. So at least we have that in common. But the whole point of that is you're a prime example of don't judge a book by its cover because for no reason whatsoever I didn't like you and apparently you didn't like me. And I'm not sure what it was. Somewhere along the lines, I think we worked a couple shows together, and we started traveling together, and then, man, things just clicked. It was like it was a bromance 101.
You know what the first thing we did on our first road trip was?
What was our honeymoon?
Tra-la-la.
Oh, yes. Was that NWA? That was NWA. Did we team that?
That was here. That was our first night.
That was our first tag here. But then we teamed against Walters and Driver.
Yeah, I made it to the hotel that morning, and then we sang Tra-la-La for 48 hours straight.
God bless him, Tra-la-La.
And that's what brought this together. Tra-la-La, the Tra-la-La guy.
This is where we cut to the clip from Family Guy. And send that Russian waiter that I like. This is the greatest clip ever, right?
Everything. That's our friendship now. 5 years ago, I would not have thought first thing when I saw that was to text him.
Right. So it's really weird how things come around, and I guess that's just the business. Is that it's funny because everyone is so out for themselves, but they shouldn't. And if we work together in harmony, you always say the best match is when you work to say what's best for the match or what's best for the show rather than what's best for me.
Yeah.
And it kind of is the same in relationships and friendships in the wrestling. It's what's best for us as a whole rather than what's best for me. Because in hindsight, you're just going to cause heat with people, or lose bookings, or
that's why
lose valuable friendships.
That's why guys in WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, they all have this thing going on.
Yeah.
And so they're not out there for themselves. They might do like one or two moves that like puts themselves over, but at the end of the day, they're there to serve the show because they know the more the product gets over, the more they get over. Like they get it.
Sure.
And that's why all their shows are really good.
Yeah.
And why nobody really ever gets hurt unless it's an accident. And nobody looks like crap.
So let's jump in first to who Aden Chambers is. And again, I don't like to go into the whole backstory thing because we can just go to Wikipedia because we all know how true Wikipedia is. But
I was born in the Amazon.
To those out there who don't know who Aden Chambers is, give me like a This Is Your Life. I know Stone Cold Steve Austin's your favorite wrestler.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is my favorite wrestler. All my high school photos, I have the camo hat with Steve Austin on it. I have a bald head and a goatee. And in my first match ever, I wore jean shorts and high-tech boots.
That's great. Is that out there?
It's somewhere out there. God, I don't want to ever see it. I was Scott Magnum.
And so you grew up in Maryland?
I grew up in Maryland, in Ocean City, Maryland, right on the beach.
Okay.
Don't live near the beach anymore, and it pains me every day.
Sure.
And I actually did backyard wrestling for 5 years. Man, we tried to make it elaborate backyard wrestling. Like,
it's funny, yeah, I did too. Like, and I've got volumes and volumes of this tapes. And I had setups, and I mean, we would take the mattresses from the bed, drag them downstairs, put them out on the deck. And I had like one time, like I had 13 guys on my roster. I was from the neighborhood, yeah.
We had a guy that his name was Jason, and he put this whole thing together. It started as an EFED. Remember EFED?
Oh yes, EFED.
And then it turned into trampoline wrestling, and then it turned into 4 pillars and ropes drilled through the thing, and it turned into storylines and websites and characters and all this other stuff. And it was just a bunch of marks imitating what they see on TV.
Yeah, it's funny. And you want to now, since you're in the business and you know it, you want to be like, oh, backyard wrestling, you're so trash. Learn how to work. But
it wasn't like glass
sure,
and blood and everything. Like, nobody ever bled on purpose.
Yeah,
it was on a trampoline, for God's sake. I mean.
Well, and to me, there's a difference in in backyard wrestling and just crapyard wrestling.
Oh, good point. Well made.
With the glass and the barbed wire, and like if you watch that movie, The Wrestler with the geezer,
no, it's the backyard.
The backyard, yeah, with the geezer,
with the lizard.
Now that's crapyard wrestling.
So
where you got the fat butcher and his mom's like, stop, and he's like, Mom, you're ruining the spot.
What is he makes her make through the promo? What is the promo? You know what I'm talking about, where he makes her go.
Oh, the 2 brothers.
Yes.
They make the mother do the promo.
She's like, I will eat your soul, and I wish you were never born, and I wish I had cut your fetus face out of my body.
And mother turns heel, and the son's like, no, more intensely. Mom, Mom, you hate him.
What part of my face would you cut?
And you're sure if I say this about my son, Vince is going to watch this and love this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Mom. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're sending it to him tomorrow.
Right.
It's going to stem.
So up in Maryland, you've done something that I've always aspired to do as a wrestler, and I haven't had the opportunity. Now, I've had the opportunity to work on the show, but I was never in the tournament. And now you've worked, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've also won the Super 8.
C.
For ECWA?
ECWA.
And that's always something that I've aspired to. I've always wanted to be in the Super 8. I was in like an ECWA versus TWA 8-man scramble like 2 years ago or something. So I was on the show, but I wasn't part of the tournament. Like, how's that feel?
That is, you know what sucks about a lot of wrestling now is there's so many, like, I mean, there's tournaments and tournaments out there, and there's lots of great wrestlers and stuff. And the thing about Super 8 now is they used to be on such a pedestal because it was the tournament.
Like
and
the Jeff Peterson Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't even hear about that anymore.
Right.
And so they had guys like AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, all the guys, the Hardys were on it, Low-Key, Bryan Danielson, Mike Rule, all these guys that you know about now. They're on TV, they're doing big things. They were in the tournament, like growing into it. And then, so for whatever reason, like the indie wrestling turned its back on ECW. I never understood this. Like, it just suddenly, like, flip-flopped, and everybody was like, oh, it jumped the shark, and everybody hates the Super 8 now. I think it's on par with any other tournament that you put out there.
Oh, the show that I was on, and I'm only putting this show over, not because I was on it, but because I was there. I was actually able to watch it, but it had, like, Adam Cole and Sammy Callahan.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
The show was, they are still, in my opinion, top 5 best wrestling show you can go to all year long. And I'll never understand why people, like, it's just the whole idea, like, because there's so many tournaments out there, and they're great. Like, they just did the Battle of Los Angeles out in California.
Best of the best, CZW.
Best of the best, CZW has a great one. There's one I can't think of. Maryland Championship Wrestling does a great one. Shamrock, that's a great one too. But in my opinion, and it's not because I was in it, it's not because I won it. Like, when I first started indie wrestling, I had 2 goals. I wanted to be in the PWI 500.
Sure.
And I wanted to be on or around the Super 8.
It's funny, I had those same goals, and I've only accomplished one.
And that was, and I got, when I did the first Super, I was around the first Super 8 in 2005, like, I was, like, scared shitless, and I was dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
Like, I had nothing to do with the show at all, except being a battle royal, but it was the most exciting thing ever, and I thought I had made it.
Yeah.
That was it for me. I was like, I can retire now.
So you get the call to be on the show, and it's one of your goals. And let me ask you, like, your take on this, because I just recently got a call from a buddy of mine, and I was supposed to go down to a Fed that Kevin Nash runs in Aruba. And I was like, Aruba? Absolutely. It was like last minute. Like, Chase and Rance calls me, and he's like, hey, this was Monday. He goes, I need you to drive down here Wednesday. We're flying out Thursday, and we're going to Aruba for 4 days. And I was like, yeah. He's like, can you get off? I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm off. So I was like, absolutely, right? And to me, that's like, wow, Aruba, Kevin Nash, this is awesome. So, like, immediately, you want to tell the world, right? So I tweet it as quick as I can, but then I take it down because it's not confirmed, right? Well, it ends up like I get pulled off the show because I was a stand-in for Cody Hall. If he didn't get his passport, he got his passport last minute, so I didn't get to go. But it's like, man, you want to tell the world when stuff like that happens. So you get the call for the Super 8. You know, you're on cloud 9?
Yeah.
Or what is
I actually found out 15 months before the actual show.
Oh, jeez. So you had time to prepare.
That's how Jim Kettner operated. Like, he knew what was going to happen 2 years before it happened. Like, he had all the stuff planned out and everything like that. He just said that, you know, he sat me down in front of his Applebee's in front of his house. And was just like, you know, and next year, as long as you're healthy, I'd love for you to participate in the Super 8.
In the tournament. This is
I went to be in the tournament, and it just kind of was like, I need to get my shit together.
At that point, you didn't know you were winning.
No, I had no idea at all whatsoever. He just said, I would love for you to be in it. And he gave me all the people that would give me the knowledge and everything like that to lead up to it and everything like that. But it was just like, honestly, it wouldn't, the Cloud9 was scary as shit.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was not ready.
Yeah.
At the time.
I know how that's like.
That's awesome. What do I do now?
So then when you get there and then you see, you know, your name underlined or you fight so hard and beat everyone and you win, like, what is your first thought there? Like, I'm winning the Super 8.
It was weird, and I'm just gonna tell the story. So I found out the night before the actual show. I went down one day early, and you know, everybody kind of is there one day early, so you can make sure they're prepared, and nobody knows what's gonna happen. And you know, just Alex. It was gonna be me and Alex Kozlov in the finals, and Alex was going up. He was ascending in wrestling, and what the things they didn't want to do was have him lose to somebody who, like myself, still at this current moment, doesn't really have anything behind their name, which makes sense to me. And I thought, whatever, I'm in the finals tournament, my God. And then, you know, 20 minutes later, he got a call from whoever he called, and they were like, it's okay if he puts him over for it. And it was like, okay, well, you're going to be winning the Super 8. And it was as simple as that. Like, that was it. It was like, okay, so you're going to be winning the Super 8 this year. So it's kind of like, I didn't want to like jump out of my skin or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of take it out and just like, that's good.
Well, let me ask you, because like, and I don't want to blame a lot of it on wrestling, and a lot of it may just be who I am as a person, but some of it does have to do with wrestling because there is a lot of disappointment in wrestling. My wife gets angry at me at Christmas, or if she's got a surprise for me, and I get it, and I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, and I genuinely mean it, but I'm not excited.
I know.
I don't get the reaction that she wants. She's like, why don't you get that reaction? And I try to explain to her, it's like, well, because back in the day, it's like, hey, you're going over for the, let's just use first, you're going over for the Shane Shamrock Memorial Cup. And then the next day, it's like, oh, we changed the card, you're not going over. So you learn not to get excited, right?
There's that, but because it was Jim Kettner telling me, I had no doubt that was what was going to happen.
Okay.
My biggest, thank you very much, was because wrestling makes you so humble. Nothing is yours. You take nothing for granted.
Yeah.
You know, if it comes to you, it comes to you, but, you know, don't expect anything. So if it happens, I was just so ingrained to just be like, this is happening. Thank you very much. You know, I wanted to jump out of my skin and punch a wall and be super excited, but I didn't want to show that. Right. I wanted to be humble and be like, okay, I did not expect this. I very much appreciate it.
And are you like me? Do you tell yourself in the back of your mind, this is going to change anyway, so there's no point in me getting excited?
Not in
that
that
all the time.
And probably 99% of any other instance.
Sure.
But if Jim Kettner had said it, I would always be able to take his word, and it would always come true.
So then you win the Super 8. Like, how do things change for you?
Because
at that point, you didn't have anything behind your name, right?
No, I had nothing.
You're just this kid in the Super 8. People are like, hey, who's Aden Chambers? Let's check him out.
Now, you know what I didn't do? I did not take advantage of that at all, and it sucks. I was still green.
Yeah.
I did a good job, and I was still learning, but I was still so green. I did not take advantage of any kind of recognition that gave me. Because in my opinion, if you do something like that, you have about 6 months to take advantage of it. After that, I mean, no one's really going to care.
Not much of a shelf life.
And so, if I was going to go somewhere, we'll say Ring of Honor, and say, hey, this is Aden Chambers, it's fresh in your mind. Oh, that kid that just won the Super 8. All right, let's give him a chance. Or something like that, but I did not take advantage of that window. I don't remember why.
Maybe you just didn't know any better.
I'm assuming it says I didn't know any better, and I didn't put wheels to the ground really until after I won the Super 8, and that's when I really started trying to get my name out there. It was just too late to try to piggyback off that. I mean, it is what it is. But, with guys like Davey Richards, when he won it, he went right with it.
Right.
It's because it's full-time wrestling with them, and I wish I could do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just can't. I have the fear. I have the fear of, if I put everything into it and it fails, what am I giving up?
Sleeping in my car.
I'm sleeping in my car.
No disrespect to people who've done that, but I can't.
No, I mean, I would do it, and I wish I could do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
I just had that trepidation.
Right.
And like, my one foot's in the water, I was like, I'll just keep my job, I'll keep going on the weekends.
So then this is a good segue to, let's go to a couple of years ago when we're working for Maryland, and it's the Shane Shamrock Cup, I believe, right?
Yep.
And I think I'm in the tournament, and I get eliminated, I really don't recall. I know the year before that I worked Ryan McBride, which was awesome.
I was there for that.
That was fun. But this year, you
literally you on the chair.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're working a qualifying match maybe, and the winner goes on to the cup, right?
Yes.
So you're working Posey,
and Ricky
Reyes, and a guy named Aden Chambers. Wait, you are Aden Chambers. My foot. So
my foot's gonna win the match.
So it's you, my foot, and Ricky Reyes. It's Ricky Reyes, Mike Posey, and you. So set this up, and the video's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Of what happens, but set this up.
From start to finish?
Yeah.
Match is going great. We have everything set up, and it's a good one. In my opinion, it could have been one of the best matches on the card, just based on what we had set up for it. With the guys that were in there, especially Ricky and Mike. I've never worked Mike before. I've worked Ricky before, so there was one
firecracker.
There was one unknown and one very comfortable, and we all came up with ideas like that. It's just gel. And so we all go out there, we start putting it together, and then I thought, I'm going to do something I never done before. I'm going to do a plancha. I'm going to do a house show dive over the top rope. I'm going to spin. I've never done it. I'm going to spin. I'm going to add a little flair to it.
And I remember Gilbert commentating. He put that over. That spin.
You see that flip?
With that head movement and everything.
And I was like, I've done fucking springboard moonsaults, flip-flop this and that. And I've gotten away with it. I've done swantons off cages. And my bump card was high, and I had no fear in doing it at all. And I was just like, oh, it's a house show dive. I'll just twist. How bad could it be? And in my opinion, I did it, and I held the rope. And I can see it in the picture. I held the rope just a little too long, so I didn't go out as far as I wanted to. Because I had never done the spin, so I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And so I hold the rope, and then Posey is there to catch me. You see it in the picture. He's Pac-Manning me right here. Mm-hmm. And he's just not there. And there's no way neither one of us could put it all together at once. He can't step in fast enough. I can't go out to him fast enough, and I miss.
And your hip.
And my hip hits straight up concrete because there's no pads in Maryland because they're hard.
And I remember watching it, and I thought you either because when I backyard wrestled, I used to hit my sciatic nerve a lot, and it hurts your butt. And I thought either you hit that, or I thought you just Charlie horsed yourself. And I was like, oh, you'll be fine in no time. You just took a bad spill. But then, as the match progressed and you wouldn't get up, and at this point I've known you long enough, I knew something seriously was wrong. Because you're not the kind of guy that's just going to call it out.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, I got up and it was a video, and I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, the adrenaline.
I got up and I bent over, I squatted out. I was like, all right, well, let's just cramp, whatever. Cramp. And I got up and I punched him and I tried to plant on it, and I was like, oh, okay, I just got to hobble on it. And I figured, all right, well, I just got to kind of hobble my way through. Anybody can do that. And then when he tried to throw me in the ring, I couldn't even get my leg up to get into the ring. And that was the point I was like, well, this is not good.
So then you're laying there, I think, for the continuation of the match.
That was it.
What's going on in your head?
I honestly, no idea. I've never been hurt before.
Yeah.
Like that.
I've been injured all through me.
So, I mean, I've been hurt, but not to the point where I couldn't do anything about it, where I had to be carried out. I could always walk out of my own accord. So I didn't take it that seriously.
And what's funny to me is like what happens to me is when I collapsed my lung or broke my arm, or unlike the White Ahmed Johnson, that's all I do is get injured.
You need to start wearing elbow pads on your
and it may be a different mindset now, but back then, and this may have been selfish for me, like the first thing that went through my mind is, I gotta cancel all my bookings, I'm not gonna be able to wrestle.
Oh yeah. No, but again, it was kind of like that, but I just wasn't taking it seriously. I was like, oh, well,
you thought it was like a stinger.
It's just a bad cramp, or maybe I just kind of I chipped something and it's it'll be a month or whatever, and I'll just get over it and I'll keep going. I didn't really get concernicus about anything at the time.
So we get you back. We're checking it out. I remember you're sitting back there. Then you finally make the call, and you're like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work. We need to call the ambulance."
Yeah.
So they get the ambulance there. TJ's playing nurse. Him and the paramedic get into a little
my God, that's right.
Little altercation.
That fucking lesbo dyke ass paramedic woman.
Because she's like, he knows you're in pain, and he's trying to help you get up on the gurney, and she's like, no.
I wish death on her.
F that. He can get up himself. He's a grown man.
Death on her. That was the worst pain ever, trying to get on that stupid ass stretcher gurney. So I felt like such a pussy in front of all the. It was right in front of all the boys, every fucking one of them, and I was just like, I'd never met. That was the first night I ever met Sammy Callahan, and I was like, Sammy Callahan's a rising star, and
he's hardcore. He's a hardcore wrestler.
All he's gonna do is think Aden Chambers is this big pussy that can't even fucking get on the stretcher board, and I was like, I'm ruined.
I am getting on the stretcher board, and I remember too. This is like the second match after MCW came to us and said, I want you guys full time on the roster.
Yeah.
So is that going through your head too? Because I remember both me and you, and this is when TJ was kind of stopping. So I was unsure about my Maryland future. Because I was like, dang, they were booking Match, and now they're not going to book me. And that was like my biggest fear when TJ stopped. Is all of a sudden my bookings are going to stop, because for 6-7 years I was a tag team wrestler.
Yeah.
So who's going to want Kirby Mack without TJ? So now this is only the second show when you became a full-time wrestler. Is that going through your head now? You're like, crap, I just lost my spot.
That's the second time I lost my spot. The first time they shut the whole company down. And then the second time I had to get hurt. I was so mad, because I was like, we had a good thing going. We had just done that one match.
We had great matches.
And I was so angry.
But I think it was like 2 matches before, and we'll get into what your injury was in a minute. It was 2 matches before that, like you had dislocated your shoulder or something.
You kicked my shoulder.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was running into
Damn right I did.
You kicked the shit out of my arm.
Yeah. Wrestling's fake. Say it again.
I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you did. Oh! You said I can't take, and I thought you said wrestling's fake.
I did not.
I kicked you. You know what? I learned from Sal Mandini. I bend it until they crap in the pants, or I hear cartilage snap.
Nice.
You know, you catch that reference? So you're at the hospital. You're in your skeleton trunks that you just made.
That's the worst part about
that we were late running to the show for, because you're making these trunks. No, we were late. I think you showed up to my house the night before.
Yeah, I did.
Because you made these brand new trunks.
That
was a bad omen.
Very excited about those trunks too.
So we show up to the hospital in your wrestling boots and your trunks, and they got to cut you out of it. Mm-hmm. So that's pissed you off.
Now, you know what? And I had a girlfriend at the time that would help me out putting the stuff together, and she was there too, and she spent hours on this thing. And she was like right there, like, all right, well, sorry about this. And then I looked right at her, like, spitefully, like.
So do you still have the trunks?
They're gone. I don't know where they are.
Screw it. So what were you diagnosed with?
I had a broken femur and a cracked hip.
Dang. So that's like your whole leg.
Yes, I snapped my femur right in half where it connects to your hip, and the hip itself was cracked.
And all this is on a freak injury, freak accident.
Yes, freak accident.
So what happens? How do you have to heal from this?
They put a 10-inch rod in my hip, and I had the Baltimore Orioles doctor do it, and that's the only reason I was excited about it. 10-inch rod in my hip, and then they say, okay, you won't be walking for 2 months. And again, the whole thing doesn't set in. You won't be walking for 2 months. You will be out for 8 months to a year. If you have full mobility again, you will be very lucky.
Now let me ask you this. Because when I had my second punctured lung, the doctor said, okay, here's the thing. You can have this surgery, which is 70%, success rate, so to speak, or you can just frankly never wrestle again. Immediately, all right, well, the surgery, because not wrestling again is not an option. So does the doctor's telling you, you might not have full mobility again. Does he give you any indication that maybe wrestling isn't for you because of this injury?
I didn't say anything about being a wrestler.
Okay.
I really should have, just to kind of get an honest gauge.
Sure.
But I kept it on the low down.
Right.
I didn't want him to give me the speech of, you're not doing this again, don't do it again, because I really didn't want to hear that.
Right. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
Really didn't want to hear that crap.
But it's already heartbreaking enough that you're out up to a year, and I think personally at this point in your career where you are, like you were, boom, 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 you were getting up there, you were booked every weekend. Sometimes more than me. Sometimes you were getting me bookings, and I'm like, what the crap, man? I hated this guy. Why is he getting me bookings? That's cool. I'll take it. I'll pretend to be his friend. No. So like your star was on the rise. So your star was on the rise, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're gone for a year. So you're best friends with your couch.
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
I love my couch.
So do you fall? Because I know how I would. Like, I know, maybe not so much now, and I go into this in some interviews on why I'm in a different mindset now, but not 2 weeks now, but maybe for it now it would be a month, but back then, I go 2 weeks and I'm in a depression if I haven't wrestled.
Yeah, that was the same thing. But when I found out it was like a year, I coddled myself with junk food. And
Did you grow the depression beard?
I grew the depression beard.
Those are the best, right?
Accepted the fact. I have one of those going on right now.
Yeah,
just because life's tough.
Yeah,
Life's tough. The economy's bad.
So did it ever go into your head that maybe it's a year off, you should look at something else? Maybe wrestling's not, maybe it was what it was and you're done?
I never thought I'm going to stop. I always knew I was going to do it again. The only thing that, and it's still to this moment across my doubts, is can I do it full time?
Mm-hmm. Do you have any trepidation? Do you have any movement issues?
No, I mean, I can still do everything I want to do and then some.
Because since I've had the scar tissue on my lung, sometimes my lung will get very tight and it won't open up all the way, so I'm only breathing on one. So that's my problem.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
But that happens to you while you're wrestling.
While I'm wrestling.
So I have no issue while I'm wrestling.
I'll just say, wrestled, and they'll go, oh, you're so blown up. You're not even an athlete.
Sick.
You're
coming in here thinking you can do all this shit and call all this stuff in the back, and here we are 2 minutes
Maybe you need to go to the gym, Kirby. Doesn't it look like I go to the gym? Yeah.
God's sake, look at these guns show. Sun's out, guns out.
That's right. Okay, so you've worked really hard. How long have you been wrestling up until the injury?
10 years.
10 years. So you put everything that you had, everything that is Aden Chambers, you put into 10 years of your life. And in the blink of an eye, it's gone. And now you realize that, and wrestling really is an out of sight, out of mind business. And it's not an out of sight, out of mind, 6 months can go by. It's an out of sight, out of mind, Monday to Monday.
Yeah.
Like, Heath Slater was hot for a minute doing the one-man rock band with the Legends, and now people forget Heath Slater's under contract.
Yeah.
Like, that's how out of sight, out of mind it is. So, like, how does that feel?
Yeah, for me, it made me mentally have to grow up because I purposely did not get married, purposely did not keep a super serious relationship with any woman, did not buy a house, did not make any major purchases, did not have any kids because of pro wrestling. I don't want anything holding me back from if I get the call for whatever reason, if I'm lucky enough, I can drop everything and go. And I made sure I was set up for that. I said, until I'm 30, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I want to make any major decisions like that.
It's funny, I had about the same thing. I told my mom, and this is legit, like until I met Rebecca and got married and moved out, I told my mom, I'm going to live with you until I'm 32 or get a contract, whatever comes first.
Yeah, and I want nothing in the way. And I committed to that, and then all of a sudden you're out, and you're like, all right, by the time I recover, I'm going to be in 28, and it'll probably take me at least a year to even coddle any sense of, oh, this guy's actually pretty decent, because you're done. You start from square one. The only thing you don't have to do is learn how to wrestle again.
Yep.
So it'll take me another year to get back, and that'll be 29. And then WWE will stop calling me when 3 is my first number of my age. So, my window is shrinking heavily. So now, what do I make my priority? Do I make moving on priority? Do I just wrestle for fun? Do I continue to pursue it as a career? And actually, Gunner is the one that kind of gave me the ho-hum.
Yeah.
You can't stop talent kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I hate you, you're right.
So what was the decision you made?
As far as what?
So what is it that Aden Chambers is here to do? Because I've made this very publicly clear, I would take a contract in a heartbeat if it came. I obviously still work towards that goal, but to me, now my priorities have switched to where it's my wife, it's family, then it's wrestling. Whereas my priorities used to be wrestling.
Yeah.
So what is it with you? Where are you now? Are we doing it just for fun? Are we still trying?
I think here's where I'm at right now. Instead of having the pressure of thinking every match could mean a contract.
Yes.
I'm just doing it. And I'm going to have fun with it. I'm not going to go out of my way to do any kind of ridiculous nonsense for some
house show dives
or 5 people in the crowd. I will go, if you're on the show, out of my way, because I'll get to see people that I like, that I've made friendships with.
Yeah.
I will go to have a really great show with somebody 10 hours away. That's fine. It's going to be a fun crowd and everything like that. But I'm not going to go 12 hours out of my way to suck up to a promoter and be like, will you please use me?
You never know who'll be in the crowd.
Yeah, and if it in my opinion right now, if it happens, it happens. I'll be more than happy to put myself in a position to be seen.
Sure.
And if you like what you see, I will more than happily come up to you and still be very humble and generous, and I can give you more, I can come do more for you, but I'm not going to go out searching for it anymore.
Yeah, so you're kind of with the same mindset for me. You're kind of like, if it's there, it's there, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket, and because I've said this plenty of times, if you let wrestling consume you, it will kill you.
Yeah, it will.
It really will. And I think
it'll kill you and your wallet.
Yeah, and I think we've all been to that point where it was eat, sleep, breathe the business. And if you do that long enough and hard enough, it will. And that's one of the reasons why TJ's out, because he was just like, man, I can't do it anymore. I'm so burned out. And now he's making tons of money being a nurse in the ER, so good for him. Yeah. Good for you. You're one of the smart
It's easier if you got a buddy.
Yeah.
You're running the bike system. You're like living in a house with guys or something like that. Or if you move somewhere with guys.
What they do in FCW.
Basically just move down to Florida and find a guy who's big, and he's there for that reason.
And it's very easy if it's a full-time thing, and you don't have a wife or kids or a family or traveling job or anything like that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, because I want to kind of get into more like some opinions and thoughts and emotional things. You're out for a year, and you just said that you would travel such and such to go to a show to see some people that maybe you haven't seen for a while. And I think, my opinion, people's opinion of me is often based upon the fact of whether or not I can get them bookings or advance their career. So, and I don't want to, and I'm not trying to put myself over here on this aspect, but when you had the injury, I rode you to the hospital, I stayed at the hospital with you, I hung out with you for however long I needed to take and make sure everything was taken care of before we even left. But I think there are a lot of people out there that won't do that. I think there are a lot of people out there that will just make sure you're settled and then want to get out there as fast as they can to either go to the bar or get a drink or something like that. And now you're out for a year, and all these people that you thought were your friends, you don't hear from them. A lot of them, or
a lot of them, no.
Not many. You don't have to name people to get things like that. But not many people check up on
for 6 months.
Yeah.
No, I had only my close friends. Really, for the first 2 weeks, everybody was asking, how's your leg? How's everything going? But then it's just like wrestling. After 2 weeks, your name disappears, and every once in a while, someone will come across you and I'm sure they thought to themselves, I wonder how he's doing, but it never just dawned on anybody to text them. And I don't think it's because, at least with me, everybody thought I could get anybody bookings or anything like that, and that's the reason they talk to me, because I never really have been one to give anybody a push because I don't trust anybody.
Sure, yeah.
I just can't. I have like 5 people I can. You're one of them. But I don't know.
So you didn't take it personal. Like, I know a lot of guys would be like, oh, screw that guy. I was out for a year and I only heard from you once.
No,
and I know,
never.
like, especially like sometimes me and you will go through spurts where like we text, you text me jokes like every day, and then they'll go like a month where I don't hear from you. And I know it's hard because like we live 4 hours away from each other, and when it's other guys who are still out for themselves trying to make their own career, obviously they're not going to sit and think every day about it. So I guess it's something that you don't take personal. Just want to know if you did.
No, I don't.
Just trying to get you some heat.
For like,
we haven't shot on it yet, and you're missing the concept of the show.
Yeah, well, the only person I could have tried that heat with would be Mike Posey if he didn't say something.
I'll say it. Mike Posey, it's not your fault.
But he did. He did text me after the match. He texted me at the hospital, and he texted me 3 days after the fact.
That's
because
good.
he thought I was okay.
That's good.
And that's all I needed.
Yeah.
Because I would have done the same thing. I mean, would I have done more personally? And I'm not judging it for anybody. Yes, it's because I can't help it. I expect nobody to have any part of their day bewildered by, oh, I'm sure he could use a text.
Yeah.
But cheer him up. Oh, I do not want that. I'd rather not have that sympathy shit.
So, what's the worst part about wrestling to you then?
You know, the worst part about wrestling is the majority of the people.
You know what? You can tell me what you think of this. I often say that, to me, indie wrestling, and I use indie wrestling because I don't know much about professional or sports entertainment, let me put it that way, because I haven't had a contract. But I often say that indie wrestling is the the reality show based on what the Jungle Book would be. So you've got Mowgli, Mowgli, whatever his name is, right? The Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
The guy looks like TJ.
Mowgli.
Mowgli, I think. So you've got him going through the jungle, which is independent wrestling. So Mowgli is the wannabe independent wrestler. And then you got all these certain characters coming up to him. Like you've got Ka, who's the promoter. Say, boy, come on my show. And then you've got Baloo the bear, who's the friendly promoter who wants to, hey, I'll buddy with you, so you come work for me for free. Yeah.
You sell chairs, right?
And then you got King Louie, who's like, who name drops, who's the promoter, who's like, I can get you everything, and all I want is your red fire, if you know what I mean. You got the promoter who wants your red fire, and I like it. That's what I like in independent wrestling too, the Jungle Book.
That is a very good analogy. I have not seen the Jungle Book in like 10 years. Now, when I go home tonight, I'm watching it.
Like King Louie will remind you of a lot of rainbow promoters. Well, I'm the king of the jungle swing. I just lost all my gay followers. They tell me I should do these safe houses with my shirt off. Ooh. So what do you like best about professional wrestling, man?
Yeah, this.
Yeah, the
friendship.
Camaraderie, the friendship. Yeah,
I have all my friends. You know, I'm taking that back. That's part of it. I owe everything.
Ooh, that's bad shot in my leg.
Cover up the chicken. I owe everything actually that I am at this moment to pro wrestling. So I can never say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
Like, to the degree. I'll never be bitter, but I owe my respect for adults and elders, and I learned experience is the best teacher, and I learned how you should listen when people talk to you, mouth shut, ears open, eyes wide, and these are all these different things that if people would use in their daily life, along with a dash of common sense, I think we'd have universal health care. We'd be Canada with some fun mixed in.
Yeah, kind of fun. Yeah. I often say a lot of times that pro wrestling saved my life because as a child, especially in my high school years, I was breaking into houses, I was graffitiing, I was a real big troublemaker.
You were a B&er?
I was on my way to being in jail or selling drugs or doing drugs, one of the three. And then,
I can't sit so close to you.
Yeah, and then I got into pro wrestling, and it was somewhere for me to put my energy. And then I found out that all the things that I was doing outside of pro wrestling exist in pro wrestling. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Look, I know this is just don't do this.
So what the hell? Yeah. So what is it about wrestling that draws you to it? What is the big thing that's like, I love it, I need to do it. Even though I break my femur and my diddly, I have to do this.
I'm gonna throw a selfish tin at it. I'm good at it, and I've always known I'm actually halfway decent at it.
Yeah.
I always know because it just comes like that. I can pick it up very easily, and it's like if you shoot basketball and you can make all these baskets from every different way, you're probably not going to stop for a long time because you're good at it and you're going to keep it up. But I just happened to pick up wrestling very quickly, so I ended up being very good at it. But then I mixed in, fitness is a good thing with it too, and I turned into love fitness and working out, so that mixed into.
I hate fitness.
Fuck you.
Hey, that's why I work.
I like all the stuff I like the prep work. Like I like having something to work towards, and that's pro wrestling is something to work towards.
Yeah.
Something to keep yourself in shape for. It's something I'm eyeing up. The intruder. It's something to keep yourself in shape for. Something to work towards. So you're never apex. That's the best one.
Yeah.
You're always something to do. Always something to learn. And it's always a challenge. And it's frustrating and it's exciting. It's like a marriage.
So it's kind of changing now, but a couple of years ago, there definitely was a huge distinguishing factor, if that's the right set of words, in northern style wrestling and southern style wrestling. Now, while I like northern style wrestling,
I was so scared of that.
Yeah, like my first northern booking, I was terrified. I was like, "Oh my god, car crash! I can't do it. I don't know what to do. I'm going to everything." But let me tell you my side of it, and then I want to get your opinion on it. I like northern style wrestling, and I like to sometimes go out there and have that match, that 15-minute spot fest where everything is and then we bring it down. I like that every once in a while, but to me, the southern style is the thing that I love the most, and it's because of the emotion and the story of the match. Like I often say, like the one reason why Shawn Michaels was always my favorite wrestler. As a matter of fact, I often say a lot. I've caught that in this.
You often say?
I often say.
I often say.
But I often say that Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler, not just because he's extremely talented, but because he's put so much emotion into what he did that you fell for him. You fell for him in everything. When he got the concussion, when he won Boyhood Dream, there was a story, there was emotion behind it. You believed it. So, like, to me, like, Southern style is much more fulfilling and satisfying because you take those people on an emotional journey, and that's what they remember. So, like, what's your thoughts on the North versus the South, and which do you prefer to work?
I was the exact opposite. Since I started in the North, all I knew was Spot Fest. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, the best of the best thing was going over, and that was everything.
Yes.
That's all I aspired to do at the time was do the coolest moves and the most flips and all that other stuff. And then I knew when I found out I was moving to North Carolina, I was scared shitless.
Really?
I knew that.
Like, how do I work an arm for 20 minutes?
No. Because I had no idea how to tell a story like that.
Right.
Because I had never done it, I had never understood it, I had never really seen it because all the shows up there, like I was going to Ring of Honor when it very first kicked in.
And it's funny because, like, to me, I'd work 20 minutes and I wouldn't get blown up, but then I'm like, oh, you're booked up north, and I'm like, oh my god, 5 minutes, I'm sucking wind because it's
constant. And I would see names like Jeff Jarrett, Greg Valentine, like all these old school wrestlers, and I would not be fearful like they're gonna beat the shit out of me. I was fearful like I can't work with them. I don't
know what to do.
Think they'll like me, and what I'm going to be like. What do you do? Well, it's, arm drag.
Canadian to short.
So, I mean, I'd never seen it, and who taught me?
Was it an easy transition for you?
You know, it was because I had chemo.
Okay, yeah, absolutely then.
Because chemo settled me down.
So who do you sit down to watch to learn how to tell a story? What's the tapes you watch? Who's the people you watch?
To learn how to tell a story?
Like, to me, Nick Bockwinkel is one of the best.
Nick Bockwinkel was. At the time, when I learned what it was, I went back and watched Steve Austin.
No.
Because
yeah, Steve Austin's great, and The Rock is a great one.
Because I would just watch Austin for what he did, but then like when you start seeing like, oh wow, he did that, oh wow, he did that, and then so I would go back and watch, because I grew up watching Bret Hart, so I would watch Bret, and I was just like, oh, I get it now, you know, it all starts making, and then I would go back farther, and Ricky Steamboat was the one that made it like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like when that, I would see it and then watch Austin and all this stuff, but then when I watched Ricky Steamboat, I don't even remember what match it was. It was probably with Flair, but the way he carried himself and the emotion he put into it, I was like,
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it's funny when it hits you, because for years, like, I was the guy down south that was doing all of the Spot Fest because of my ties to Omega and Matt and Jeff Hardy, like, and people, and I started getting this stigma and this rep where people booked me because they wanted me to do crazy stuff, do the headstand bump or whatever.
You did have it in your name.
Yeah, Crazy K, right? That's why I dropped that. I was like, oh, I can't be crazy forever. As a matter of fact, I don't want to be crazy. It hurts. It hurts too much. So like, I was the guy down south working the northern style, but I still wasn't working it as hard as they were, but it was still getting over down south. But I lost my train of thought. But I'll get back to it. Dang it, you were talking about the South, Southern Tour, telling the story. Oh, it's funny when it clicks to you, because like I would train with Shannon, and Shannon would be like, oh, I liked your match, but why did you do this, this, and this when all you had to do was this? You know, you're doing way too much. Work smart. Stop working so hard. There's no reason for you to do a moonsault into a 450 and then hit an arm drag. Just hit an arm drag. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, yes, thank you so much, Shannon. And then he turned his back, and I was like, forget you, Shannon. You just don't want me to get over. You don't want me to get more over than you, because I'm going to take your book. What do you know? And then he turns back around, and I'm like, so less is more. Right. Thank you, Shannon. Yeah. And then I go right back out there, and I'm like, so I want to do the 450 into the moonsault, but I want to hit hip toss this time. So
alright, that's
but it's funny when it finally clicks to me. I'm at the gym when I actually used to go, and I was doing this thing where you sit and you pull.
Yeah.
And I think it works your legs. I'm not quite sure.
But it certainly works your brain.
Yeah, but I was doing that, and all of a sudden I just stopped and I was like, huh, I get it. I really get it. And then I text Shannon, or I called him, and he probably didn't answer because he never does. And I was like, man, I get it, man. Less is more. You're not a douche. Thank you. You know?
You were really trying to help me.
You were really trying to help me. That's the thing. You think these guys aren't trying to help you. Like, when guys come here after the match, like, you don't need to do this. Why are you doing this? Or I would maybe do this. You think like, oh, they're angry because I got a huge pop and they didn't. No, these guys, most of these guys are really trying to help you.
Yeah, because they know by saving you, they saved themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're keeping the business alive.
Do you have an instance like that where you came back and you felt like, oh man, I just put on the best 10-star Spot Fest and I just got a huge pop, and this guy came up to you and he was like, hey man, I'm hardcore hack. You see what I do. You know, like, do you have an instance like that?
I do have one. And it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. And I haven't seen him since, so I can't say anything about it. But Thomas Simpson. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember what match it was.
He's a frequent theme in my safe house. Hey, Thomas.
But I did a match, and I didn't think it was the greatest thing ever, but I thought it was actually pretty decent. And I was like, you know what, that was probably like 7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. But I'll never give it a 10, but I was like 7 out of 10, it was fun. And I gave it back, and I asked him, because I knew he'd watched it, and I just wanted opinions, and good, bad, or ugly, I'm more than welcome to hear all of it. And I was just like, what'd you think of it? And he just ripped me to shit.
That's Thomas, yeah.
He just fucking tore me down.
But the one thing I can say, though, about Thomas is, he knows there's talent there if he took the time to watch and then tear you down. If he would have just looked at you and go, it effing's up, and walk away, then he really thinks you suck. But the fact that he was trying to, in his eyes, give you some constructive criticism, you know, at least he knows, you know.
Yeah, and that didn't take, it just stuck out to me, because that was one moment I was like really high on it, and I was just like, fuck balls, this is that bad.
He told you you did too much.
He told me I did too much, and it was just like, over the top. He was probably right. I've never seen the match since, but I'm sure he was right because it was like.
But at that point, you're like, who's this guy?
Yeah, I was exactly. I was immediate like spite. And you go right there with Kirby Mack.
Thomas told me the same thing, and now we don't talk anymore.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Thomas ripped into me a lot, but
I don't.
I'm the reason we don't talk anymore.
I love your sushi.
Yeah, you do make good sushi, and that's just me trying to get a booking.
Where? I want one.
They don't exist anymore. At least not one with pay.
Oh.
Yeah. So, so we got the northern style, southern style. Oh, I know what I did want to bring up, and I said this on Twitter, and I'd like to get maybe your take on it. And I can't give a solid answer why, but I was driving, and this is where it gets really morbid and depressing, but I was driving to training last week, and I know I talked to Viper about this. I was driving to training last week, and because I was approached to do a benefit show for someone with cancer, and I was like, what would happen if I had cancer? Yeah, and I'm like,
start cooking meth.
And I'm like, how long would I wrestle? Yeah, how long would I wrestle while I have cancer? And then I'm like, well, obviously I want to have that one.
I hate when that happens.
That one last good match, and I want to have it, and I'd want to go out. And I was like, well, who would I want my last opponent to be? It could be anybody in the world, right? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be Shawn Michaels? Do I want to be Matt Hardy? And I'm thinking, really, at this point, I've wrestled almost everyone that I ever really wanted to wrestle, and I was like, man, you know what? I think I would really want my last match to be with Aden Chambers because I feel like every time we wrestle, we get each other, we have fun, and it's always good. And I was like, but would I put him over? Yeah, I'd have to put him over, right? Because I'm dying, so I can't go over because you can't let a guy with cancer beat you.
And yeah, but at the same token, what if I'm the bad guy? How much heat am I gonna get?
Yeah, but
I'm such a good bad guy.
Yeah, but still, like, so I was like, yeah. So without a shadow of a doubt, like, I would want my last match if I had cancer to be against you. Do you know who? Do you have anybody who you would want your last match to be? Like, who are some of your favorite opponents?
Shit, I can't.
It's a hard question to put on the
This is
spot.
a very hard question. What disease do I have?
Lyme disease.
Man, I hate ticks.
You're out in the woods a lot.
Jesus.
And it's a blue tick that bit you. Who has a crappy comic.
Yeah, but he's Joe from Family Guy.
Yes, he is.
I can't think of a Joe line right now. These dolls. No.
All right. It's Louis Anderson.
I would love to say it would be like someone that's been on TV or something like that, but I would not want my last match to be with somebody I was scared shitless to wrestle.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And I would, and at the same time, if I were going to wrestle that person, I would rather just learn and get all this other stuff, sponge it up, and then take it and use it, but I won't be able to do it. It's my last match. So it had to be, it would not be a one-on-one, it'd be a hodgepodge, obviously. It'd probably be like a four-way dance for like half an hour.
Okay. So I know we don't have too much time left, but I do want to touch on one thing. Maybe if you could talk about. I know you went to.
My teeth are white.
Yeah, it's this new app I got. It's called the Teeth Whitening.
Right on. I need this in life.
Yeah. I know you are a graduate of the Team Taz Dojo.
Yeah.
You want to touch on your time there?
Yeah, I will.
For anybody that may be thinking about it, or just anything really. In
I don't know if he still does it anymore, but
well, even better than it's like you're Spanky and Daniel Bryan from Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I did it for a brief hot minute.
Yeah, all right.
But I will say this: any veteran that takes the time out of their day to spend more than a cup of coffee with you, to tear you apart and constructively criticize you
and mean it,
and they've done it. They've been on TV, with him, it was just, you gotta think, you think it's Taz, ECW, Suplex Machine. The reality of it is Taz Suplex Machine is Taz the commentator, is Taz the guy that's been in the backstage meetings, Taz the guy that's watched Vince and see what he wants in stars and what people look for, and like what, as a commentator, how's he going to talk about you? How's he going to make you look good? What are the things that he's going to look for you to do? And to pick his brain and to have him tear you apart, not in a mean way, just to kind of be like, this is how it's done. you need to do it like this. And any veteran of any sort that has done any kind of anything in this business, if you get the opportunity to pick their brain, you take it.
Yeah.
If you don't take it, you're an absolute fucking moron.
Absolutely.
Because you are missing the whole point of what we do. Even with you. I mean, you've never been on TV or the contract or anything like that, but if someone...
Arthur Rosenberg...
I said with a contract. Unless Arthur's got a contract,
right,
then I don't know nothing about nothing. But if someone is just starting out, you is someone that they should listen to because, just like I was telling earlier, you've made mistakes.
Tons of mistakes.
And experience is the best teacher. If they soak up and learn what not to do and what to do, which isn't really much, if you have that opportunity and you don't take it, you just need to just drop your shit and just walk out right now.
Right, like
you don't know everything.
When I first was blessed with the opportunity to hang out with Matt and Jeff, we'd go to dinner after shows, and I would pick. And I know Matt was tired and exhausted, but Matt just always loves talking about wrestling. That's the one good thing about him. And I would just pick his brain nonstop.
Yeah,
so absolutely, yeah. So it was worth it because I know that it was. I know it was a sacrifice for you.
Yeah,
probably both financially and time-wise because you're away from your job as well.
Yeah, and you know the second thing is I think a lot of people did it thinking this is my green light to TNA.
Sure.
And now I'm going to go hang out with Taz. And he's going to put me right on TV, and then this is going to be my chance. And I'm going to spend X amount of money, and that's how it's going to happen. And if you went there with that attitude, it showed immediately, and he could see it immediately,
oh, yeah?
and he would just. He'd ruin you.
Right.
On purpose, too, because you deserve it, because it's not what you're there to do. You're there to learn. You're there to get better, and then if you apply what you learn, and then you go take it to TV, it might work, but it's not his job to get you a job. It's his job to pass along the tools, and it's your job to use tools to build a house, take the job.
So you don't regret it?
I don't regret it at all, no. And at the time, I didn't. The bad thing about it is when all that kind of stuff happens, and even now, if someone teaches you something, I never get it right then and there. That's the sucky thing about it. Unless you sit in it always takes like 2-3 months to sink in. And you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And now I get it. And if I just used it at the time.
Right.
You know. But it stuck with me. So I don't regret it at all. It was probably one of the better things I ever did because it really grounded me. And that's another thing too. Is like if you think you're really good and then someone takes you down, if you take it personally, God.
Sure. Because
and that's where the whole bitter wrestler thing comes out,
right? Because I mean, you're paying the man for his knowledge, so the man really wants to give you your money's worth. He's really there to help you. He's just not
like he's legit.
He's not there just to get his rocks off and make you feel bad.
He's not phoning it in. He's not sitting on a couch. He's not reading a book.
He would get in the ring,
literally in the ring with you,
cool,
going over stuff and showing you how to do it and talking about it and explaining why, how, where, when. It's a good time. Good memories.
Good.
Great.
So,
this was good.
What do you think? We're going to wrap it up because this hour went by extremely fast. I don't know if you can tell.
We're good at that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Use the 3 shells.
What the hell is that?
Don't get the reference?
No.
No touching. Demolition Man.
Oh.
Let's just high five. Screw it. Okay, so
I missed the Turtles reference.
Yeah, you missed the
reference.
So, what's the future hold for Aden Chambers?
It better be more of this kind of stuff.
Let me see.
It tickles.
You have a great.
It tickles.
You have a long love line.
What does that mean?
And beautiful eyes.
Oh, I like this.
I mean, so what do you think the future holds for Aden?
And I better just keep having good matches, and I better not get hurt.
Yeah.
That's all I care about right now. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I want to work with people I like, I trust. I want to have good matches. I really just want to entertain people. I want to keep trying new stuff. I want a job.
Yeah.
I want a full-time job with somebody.
Triple H, I like your buzz cut.
I do.
If you ever need someone to play the part of your hair,
yeah,
I could team up with Mae Young's hand. We'd be on fire.
I could just stand beside you and my ponytail will stick out. I'm down with that. I'll clean toilets. I really don't care.
So is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on?
On camera?
Yeah, see? That question always goes that way.
No, I mean, like, touch on you want to touch on, you know? You just got done talking about my eyes.
Is there anything you would like to say to the people?
No. I don't like any.
Well, Aden, in the case of Jasmine St. Clair, you are not the father.
Yay!
That was a Mario reference. That was lame as hell. Just turn this off. No, so drop where can people find Aden Chambers socially?
You know what? I lose 50 Twitter followers a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you don't tweet enough.
I tweet once a day.
Oh.
And I always try to make sure it's insightful and entertaining. It's at Aden Chambers.
It is insightful and entertaining.
And I had it was like 1,500 followers one day, and then I opened it up the other day and I had 1,200. And then I opened it up the next day, I had 1,100. And I was like, all right. Well, I'm not popular. I started searching back. Did I say something racist? so I tweet at Aden Chambers, but I'm also on the FaceBase at the same name, because I was so fearful when I started that people would find out my real name that they would stalk me because I'm so awesome at what I do.
He is pretty awesome. So YouTube, Aden Chambers, we've got plenty of matches out there. There's a couple of them with me and him. Tra-la-la matches out there.
Ooh, the tra-la-la matches out there.
With Stephen Walters and Derek Driver.
That was the moment. I just want you all to know that. It was the moment. There's even a picture. There's a picture out there somewhere after the match where you were grabbing onto my side and you pulled my trunks almost down.
Okay.
And you're like right next to me, and I'm looking at you like, you're about to do this, aren't you?
Are you talking about the picture from my bedroom?
Really?
Wait, what?
I've never...
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for episode 3 of The Safe House. I want to thank Aden Chambers for driving the long distance that he did to come to wrestling practice and help bestow his endless knowledge on my trainees, help me, and also sit down and take the time and lay it out on the line here.
I purged on you, and I want you all to tell your mothers about it. I purged on you.
So follow him. You got a little purge on your face, by the way. So follow him at Aden Chambers. It's on the bottom of the screen right there, and my little fancy graphic. Right? Oh, that's wrong. Yeah. And thanks for coming out. That's it, Aden. Parting words. Hit him.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.